So this is a project we completed, and the project was about developing an incident trend analysis dashboard from an HSE dataset. All right. So as you can see, this dashboard looks so amazing. It was created using Microsoft Excel, and we have all the important features that makes it very dynamic. So we have the slices for incident location, slices for incident types, slices for departments. We have our KPI cards in here. We have quite a number of visuals for various incident types, injury severity, and all of that. So we did all of this based on a data set like this. So the data set basically wasn't the best of the data sets. We needed to clean the data, transform the data, do some data modeling in order to come out with a lot of calculations which we use to create this dashboard. All right, so let's go back and look at the project requirement. So this was basically the project requirement that we are helping management to make decision from the HSE incident log, and for that reason we needed to do some descriptive analysis of the data sets and try to answer these set of questions. So the questions we're looking to answer will be: what is the total incident? How many incidents resulted in personal injury? What is the percentage of human error? What is the percentage of completed investigations? What is the incident trend over time? What types of incidents occurred the most? What is the severity levels of the reported incident, the location, and which location recorded the highest, which department recorded the highest, and what are the main causal categories? So that's pretty much what this project is about. So we go back and we look at some of the Excel sheets. We're going to see that we've literally answered those questions, right? So what is the total incident? What are the personal injuries? How many are they? So 100 total incidents, 52 personal injuries. 50% was as a result of human error. 30% of the incident investigated. When we look into our incident types, you can tell that first aid and fire incident were the highest incident recorded. In terms of injury severity, a lot of the incidents are within the minor and then the serious incident. The incident trend, we can see the incident by department. Administration recorded the most incident by location, or boss recorded the most, and then incident cause category, human error actually dominated as the most causal factor for the incident. All right, so that is pretty much what we did, and we're going to follow a step-by-step process of how to do something similar. But before we get into that, I quickly want to share our data academy and our community. So we have a data community where we support each other. We support everyone who want to be a data expert, an HSE data expert, through a mentorship program. So we have a data mentorship program within our data community where we practice how to create a dashboard every week. All right, so we started doing this for the past 2 weeks. So the first week we created this Excel dashboard, and then the subsequent week, which was just this past Sunday, we created this HS incident trend analysis dashboard in Power BI. All right, so this is something we are committed to doing every single week. So if you want to be part of our community and learn how to create a dashboard, you may do well to join our community, and it's absolutely free. All right, now within our community, or if you're watching us and you want support on HS data analytics, how to hone your skills and be able to apply the knowledge in Excel and Power BI to your workplace data set, then you may want to enroll in our Data Academy. So we have a Data Academy where we help users to master HS data analytics in 7 days through our live bootcamps, our live coaching, real world data sets. We run it on a weekly basis. We ensure it is convenient to your need, and it is career driven in the sense that we practice real world data sets. So we have one-on-one arrangements where you can book a meeting with us to support you for 14 hours at your own preferred times. And then we have the standard group class where you can join other students based on our training calendar. All right, so this is pretty much the curriculum. If you want to get to know more, I'll put a link in the description. All right, so without wasting time, let's head over to our data set. Now we're going to start from scratch. So I'm going to remove this very one. I'm going to close it, and I'm going to head right into our folder. Right, so we have this basically our tutorial that we are doing here. So we have a dedicated folder for it. So I'm going to open this Excel sheet right now, and as you can see, there's nothing in here. Right, so what we're going to do is that we're going to identify what our data is all about, which is an important step in data analytics or data analysis. We identify the data, try to understand what each column is about. We do a bit of data profiling before we go ahead to clean the data and transform the data and then do some data modeling. All right, so in terms of identifying the data, obviously this is an HS incident log. Each department sort of is contain an important parameter. The date column basically has all the dates within it, and when we look at trying to identify what are the errors within our data set, we may probably want to use the column filter. So if you don't have the column filter in there, just make sure you highlight this entire column and then just go to data and add the filter. So what the filter does is that it helps us to know the content of the column, right? So over here you can tell that there are some inconsistent data formats in here which we're going to be cleaning. And then again over here we don't see anything. If you click, we don't see anything. Department, when we click on the column header, we can see there are some duplicates, right? So operations has shown twice. One is a typo and all of of that. Again, there are duplicates in there. There are some typos. Location, we want to also track incident by location. We have the region also attached to it. For some reason, we want to make sure we separate them, right? Now, sometimes the best practice is to just, do Control A and then go to conditional formatting and then, just go to highlight cells rules, right? So we want to check for duplicates. Now, the duplicate values gives us an important insight. The fact is that a lot of the parameters should be repeating many times, but there are instances where they're going to be, distinct items or distinct values within it, which could give an indication that there's an error with it, right? Because operation is supposed to be repeating a lot of operations in there, right? But for some reason, we're having just one operation standing as a distinct value, and for that reason, we want to check, and this looks like a typo, right? And then again, to this is what we call the foreign key. Within our data set or within every data set, there's always the unique identifier, which is the foreign key. That foreign key is what would potentially connect to other data sets, especially given the fact that data could be separated in various tables, but there's always one unique identifier that can connect to other tables and all of that. So usually we have the fact table and then the dimension tables, right? So this is our fact table, and we have the unique identifier, which is our foreign key, and the foreign key should be distinct. Each value within it should be distinct, justifying the fact that every entry was made independently. So when we're having duplicates within our foreign key, what it means is that there could have been a system glitch. If you're using a system for collating the data, that system did not identify a unique entry, and for that reason it became a duplicate. And when we look across, we will see that the data is literally the same. All right. So basically, we are using this to look at what could potentially be a duplicate within the data set. So we're going to undo this and we're going to proceed to clean up the data. Now, in cleaning up the data, an important thing you need to bear in mind is that the best practice is to clean data in Power Query. Now, the reason why you want to clean data in Power Query is the fact that within Power Query, you can be able to undo the steps that you take to clean the data. All right. So you could take a lot of steps forward and you can literally backtrack a step back to fix an issue, and then you could proceed again. All right. However, in Excel, you cannot be tracking all the steps you take in cleaning up the data unless you manually write them down. And even with that, to go back, all right, the undo button here cannot go back as many steps as you want, but probably just 5 steps. You can only backtrack a few steps. So we're going to load to Power Query. Let's quickly click on get data, right? So you want to load to Power Query, click on data, you come to from table range. So you click on from table range. What it's going to do is that it's going to convert this to an Excel table. So click on it, convert to an Excel table, and then it loads to the query editor. All right, so this is the interface of our the query editor. We have the left pane, we have the center pane, we have the right pane, we have the query ribbons, we have the query tabs. These are the tabs that we have, and within each tab there's a ribbon. All right, so there's a home ribbons that helps us to remove columns, keep columns, and do a lot of things. The transform also helps us to do a lot more data cleaning activities, and the fact that we can actually add columns if you want to create additional columns within this table. All right, so over here we have the query. So the query is simply the table, or is simply the fact that we've queried it into the query editor. So you have a lot of queries listed in here. So this one is a table, right? So we're gonna just rename the table. We're gonna call it a source data for obvious reasons, which is the fact that we're gonna be referencing all of these columns within this table, and for that reason, when you're doing that calculation, you want to be able to know that this is the table we are doing the calculation on. So this is just by the way. Now, an important thing we need to bear in mind is that we need to clean the data and ensure that they are clean. The best practice is that you want to make sure all of this have been checked. Sometimes they are not checked. When you come to the view tab, usually the data will look like this, but you need to come to the view tab and then check all of these stuff. Now, all of these are quite important. Column distribution is helping us to know the number of distinct values and unique values. Distinct values will be the diversity in the data sets within that very column. So every column has all of these important indicators, the distinct value and then the unique values. Distinct is each data or each value within the column should be independent. It should be one independent item or value, which means that there has to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each of them are independent of the other. All right. And then when you talk about the unique value, is how many times each of them is appearing. So all of them must appear just once. So instance ID 001, right? Instance 001 should appear just once. Instance 002 should appear just once. So what it means is that we have 101 distinct values and we have 98 unique value. What it means is that 98 have appeared just once, but there are extra 3 have appeared more than once. So we need to clean up. So that means there's duplicate within this list, right? But that's just by the way. So the distribution you need to check the column profile. The column profile, once you click on it, it's going to populate this section. It's more like a statistics telling us the rows, how many sort of count of items within this column. There are 104. We have distinct 101. and then 98. So all of these stuff helps us to make some decision. We're going to check for monospace. What monospace does is that it increases the font size so we can see clearly. And we have the white space. The white space helps us to see the spaces that are before and after the text. And we have the column quality. So the column quality helps us to know the valid entries within the column. So in terms of percentages, so the valid percentage, the error percentage, the empty percentage, the goal is that you want to have 100% valid score, indicating that there's no error in the column and there's no space in the column. So when you see 2% empty space, it means that we have some empty space, and these are the empty space you can see in here. So let's quickly move on to data cleaning. All right, having checked all of this, all right, so we want to make sure that the dates, we clean up the dates. So what are the errors within the dates? We will click on the column filter, right? This filter, you can see there are errors. These are not consistent date formats. We're going to clean all of that. Now, if you look clearly, we can see that there's a quotation mark right in front. This one has a full stop right in front. This one has an apostrophe right in front. This is a wrong date format. So what we're going to do is that we're going to click on this and we're going to replace value. So we right click and we click on replace value. So sometimes replace value doesn't show when you right click. So what you do is that you come to transform, and then we look for replace value. So we're going to replace the double quotation, right? We're going to click on it and we are replacing with nothing. So just, remove the double quotation, and for some reason it didn't remove. As it is there, it did not remove. So what we're going to do is that we're going to start using what we call extract. So we're going to extract by delimiter. Okay, extract by delimiter. Hold on, we're not going to do that yet. Let's fix this one first. Let's click on this and then we're going to replace the value. All right, so the 24th March is going to populate right in there. So all we need to do is provide the correct date format. So that's 24th 03 2403/2025. So that sort of correct this date for us. Move on to the next. This one has an apostrophe. Now, when we do replace value, okay, sometimes you can replace the apostrophe with nothing. So we just click on the apostrophe mark with nothing. And let's see, it did not replace. So what do? We click on the entire column again and we come to extract the text before delimiter. So the delimiter is any sign. It could be a full stop, quotation mark, apostrophe, whatever. So we're going to put a quotation mark, the apostrophe in there. And once we clean up the data, as you can see, that has been cleaned. All right. So we have over here, we have a full stop. So what we do, we click on transform, right? We click on extract before delimiter, and then we put a quotation, the full stop right in there. And then we click on it. So we are extracting the text that is before the full stop or the apostrophe or whatever. All right. Now we move on to the next. And these ones, we try to replace the values. Let's see. When we click on, replace the apostrophe, right? The double quotation, that's the quotation mark. We replace it with nothing, right? Let's see what happens. Now it's gone. Okay, so the replace works. We need to make sure that we are typing correctly. So we've replaced this. Now let's see what will happen. We've sort of cleaned up everything, but the next thing we need to do is that we need to change the date type. So we click on this, change the date type. But unfortunately, we are getting some error. All right, we are getting error, which is not supposed to be the case. Even though all the dates, we've sort of done them according to what it's supposed to be. So let's undo this step and let's look at what is going on. Okay, so when we look through the dates, everything looks correct. We have the month and then the day, the month, and then the year. Everything looks correct. So why are we still getting error? Sometimes you get error for some reason. The date format has been changed to a text, as you can see. It's not recognizing the fact that they could potentially be number. But when we click on whole number, you see we are still getting error. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we're going to go to add column, and we're going to see, we're going to select this column, and we're going to see that let me undo the column profile so we can see. I'm going to basically add a new column, and we're saying column from an example. So this is the example we're going to be using. So I just click on it from selection. It's going to create another column, and what we're going to do is that we're going to type in the correct dates, and it's going to do a flash fill of this date format. All right, so So you're going to type this, and automatically we see that it has populated the date that is here. So 19th, 22nd, 23rd, and everything. So we hit OK, and we have our new date format. Okay, so we can actually bring it all the way to the left, right? We can bring it all the way to the left, or we could just move it. So, we could right click like this and say move. Where is it? We can right click and say move to beginning, right? So move to beginning. So now this is our new date format. We can now remove this. Okay, so this one, when we change it to date, it's going to give us the correct date. So we can now remove this old date format because there's an error with it, right? When we click on date, you see we still get an error, so we don't need it, right? So we're going to remove this altogether. We've created a new date. Okay, so there's a new date that we've cleaned, looking very, very good. We move on to the next, right? So this one, we are having an issue with the now. So if you notice, we're saying that the foreign key is a unique identifier. So the moment foreign key has not been registered in here, what it means is that there's literally no entry at all across the entire row. So as you can see, there's no entry. So we can comfortably remove the now. So just come here, remove the now, because let's have a look at the other now. I think there's another now down here. So we just remove the now altogether. So once we remove the now by filtering it out, this then becomes a new data set that we can use for analysis. The one that we filtered out will never show up in our data model. When we load to the data model, or when we load to an Excel table, it wouldn't show, which means that anything that you do here that you take out will be registered as not needed for our analysis. Okay, now over here we notice when we're profiling our data that there were some duplicates, if you remember. So what we're going to do is that we're just going to click on this table here, and we're saying keep duplicate. What it's going to do is it's going to let us see the duplicate that are in our data. We can see there's a duplicate here, this one 036 and 084. So what we're going to do, we're going to remove the duplicate because all of them are the same. When we check, you see that it is literally the same. All of them are the same. They're all the same. So what we do is that we'll undo, as I did mention, when it comes to Power Query, you can always undo the step that you take. So what we're going to do is that we're going to remove the duplicates. Now after we remove the duplicates and we click on over here and check keep duplicates, you said there's no duplicates at all. Now within this column profile, all right, let's click on it. Let's check the profile and try to understand. We have 100 entries, count of values in here. There are 100. Each of this is unique, so we have a distinct. So each of them is distinct. So we have distinct of 100, and then each of them have appeared just one, right? Just one. So we have unique of 100. So this tells us that our foreign key is correct. It's properly cleaned up. There's nothing. There's no duplicate. There's no space at all. So we check from the column quality. We can see that the valid is 100%. Okay, so we move on to the next. Okay, let me uncheck the column profile. Move on to the next, which is the department. Now within the department, we can see there's space already here. There's a space that we're not supposed to be having. So what we're going to do is that we come to transform and we go to format and we trim the space in front and after the text. Okay, now at a glance we can't see anything, but we know that there are some duplicate entries or some typos. So we're just going to go here and look within the filter and check if there are some typos, because all of them are going to be distinct in there. So this is distinct from this, right? So operations has been typed correctly, wrongly, and this has been typed, this is the correct one. Safety, one is a caps, the other one is a smaller letter, and that's pretty much it. So this one we need to fix the operations and safety. So what do we do? Let's sort of replace value. So over here we just click on the column header and we go to replace value, right? Replace value, and we type in safety with a small letter and safety with a bigger letter. We are placing the small letter with a bigger letter, and let's check again. Now safety has been cleaned. It's left with operations, right? Now this one we want to make sure we are typing the correct one, but mind you, we've trimmed the spaces before and after, so we could comfortably just replace it. So let's do something. Let's filter out this one. Okay, and let's click on it so that this pane opens, so that we can just Control C. Okay, and let's undo again, and then this time around we just replace value. So we already Control C, and then let's type in the correct one. Operations, right? Let's replace it. So now we look in the column header, you see they're all distinct. You have how many distinct entries? We have a distinct 7 distinct entries, and that is good. We move on to the next location. According to our analysis, we're going to be doing incident by location. And for that reason, we want to separate the region from the location. So what do? We come to add column, and we say extract text before delimiter, right? So the text before delimiter, the delimiter you're talking about is the comma. Take note, we are at add column. So add column, we still have those same, data cleaning commands, right? The extract is still at transform. Now we have it at add column. So we're going to create a column, and this is going to literally create another column for us, and that is the location right in here. Again, we're going to see extract, right? Extract text after delimiter. The delimiter is the comma. So once we put a comma in here and then we click on OK, it's going to load another column which is for region. So basically we have our location now here and we have our region. But before that, let's remove this other location because the column header is going to tell us the name already exists. So let's remove this one. Okay, remove column. Remove this column, and then we go here and we click on the column header and we change it. This one is location and this one is region. All right, the next thing we're going to do is that we're going to clean this space as well. So we click on this. Oh, we are not done. We come to incident type. Incident type, you notice there are a lot of errors with it as well. So what we're going to do is that we're going to identify the errors. I mean, these are all distinct entries. We're going to look at them. This one has a dot after it. This one has double Y. Okay, so let's quickly fix the fatality. So let's replace value. The dot. So let's extract text before dot, right? So let's quickly extract. So we go to transform and we extract text before delimiter, right? Text before delimiter. We can actually do that. Text before delimiter. So the delimiter is the dot. Let's remove it. Okay, so that has been removed. If you go in here, we look at fatality. It has been removed. Now let's look at the double Y, right? So the double Y, we literally replace value, right? So at the transform, we replace the value, and then we just have to type everything all over again, right? And then replace it with the correct one. Now take note that whenever you're typing, that's exactly what it is in there. So sometimes it's better you literally click on it first. So let's uncheck these ones. So first aid and another first aid. Let's look at it clearly. What's going on here? You can see this one has like double space between. So how do we remove this double space? Okay, so basically let's undo this step, and then let's replace value in the transform, and let's introduce double space. Replace it with one space only. So just replace, and let's look at it. So the first state has been corrected. Now let's look at the near miss. So this near miss, literally there are 2 words and this one is 1 word. Let's make sure it's just 2 words, right? So let's go by the 2 words. So let's also replace value and then type in okay, so we introduce the one that sort of brings the that has the two words. Okay, so we click on it again and we say the near miss has been corrected. Any other one, okay, that is the spill, right? So the spill, this one has a T at the end, right? So we want to make sure that we replace value also. And then replace it with spill. Okay, so that also cleans it. All right, so we look at it and everything is correct. So this has been cleaned. Let's move on to the next. Okay, we're going to remove the space. We go to transform, we go to format, and we're going to trim the space in front and after. Okay, so this section, there's no issue with it. We look in the column header filter. We cannot see anything unusual, so we can just proceed. Over here, we have a challenge. We're having some null values. We're going to be doing incidents, injury severity levels. And for that reason, this null is not important. We need to replace this null. So what we're going to do is that we're going to replace it now. But before that, let's look at the distinct entries. All of them are distinct, which is very, very good. And then the null. but we cannot filter out the null. When we filter out the null, what it means is that all of this row is going to vanish, and that's going to give us a new set of data that we cannot do proper analysis on. So what we're going to do is that we are literally just going to transform and replace the null. So replace null with not applicable, and then we hit OK. All right, when you do the same thing for this one, we check there's how many distinct entries, right? So over here, sprain, laceration, fracture, location, all of these are distinct, which means they're all independent of the other. There's no any type of different entry, which is like a slight variation of the other. So what we're going to do is that we're going to replace value as well. So then now replace it with not applicable. Okay, so basically data cleaning is an important part of data analysis, and you want to make sure that everything is correct, and this step can actually take a lot of time. So we can see now, let's go to the column distribution, right? 4 distinct, 1 unique, 5 distinct, 1 unique, right? Each of so basically what it means is that each of these are distinct and one has appeared just once. Anyway, that's okay. If one has appeared just once, that's fine. But even with that, this one has appeared just one. It doesn't make sense. It shouldn't be appearing just once. So we're going to trim. All right, so let's trim this one. So transform and trim. So in actual fact, trimming is an important thing we need to be doing. We need to trim out all of this because it's supposed to be, there's not supposed to be any unique value because they are supposed to be repeating many times. Take note, unique value means that it has appeared just once, which means one of the distinct has appeared just once, and we don't want that. So let's format and trim. So ideally we are supposed to be trimming all of this. So did I trim? Let's look at it. Trim. I've trimmed it, right? So we are supposed to be having 0 unique, 4 distinct independent values. Unique, none of them should appear just once. If it appears just once, it could probably mean it has indeed appeared just once. But from our data set, Wasa, Obuase, all of them keep repeating, so there's no way they are going to be a unique value. Okay, so that is how we gauge properly to remove every unique. Over here, we're still having distinct. So which one is a distinct? Let's trim any space in front after the text, right? And let's see what's happening. Okay, so that's fine. So with this one, what it means is that one of the parameter has appeared just once. So what could that one be? We can't really tell, right? But let's look at the column profile. View and go to column profile. Let's see. One unique. Which one is a unique one? Okay, we cannot really tell which is unique. We can't really tell. Okay, perhaps it's fire. Oh, I see. Fire has appeared twice. Guys, that's quite interesting. So we need to really investigate. Fire has appeared twice. Let's look at why is fire appearing twice. Because when we look at the column distribution, the column profile, we can see that fire is here. There's another fire here. Why do we have 2 fires appearing? So let's look at this. Okay, so why exactly do we have 2 fires appearing? That's crazy. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to replace this fire with what it's supposed to be. All right, so let's undo the step for now, and then let's just say, okay, fire, let's replace fire with fire. Okay, so let's go to transform and let's basically replace value and then fire with fire. Okay, let me just intentionally create an error. Okay, let's see. Fire with fire. Okay, let's say this wrong one. Let's see. So okay, we have the wrong fire in there. Now let's try to see if we'll find the correct fire. Okay, so basically fire has been basically there's one fire now. So that means there was a problem somewhere. So let's now correct the fire that we introduced. Okay, let's just replace that fire that we introduced. Okay, so this fire that we introduced, that's this one, the wrong one, and let's use it to replace. Let's use the correct one, replace value. Okay, so let's put it in there and write the correct one. Okay, and that sort of cleans it up. So right now we have just one fire showing. So if you look at the column profile, you can see only one fire. So all of this helps us to see the quality of the data that we have. Each of them must be could repeat many times, and they're distinct, but it could repeat many times, and that's how you have this graph. So that's pretty much it. So the standard practice is that you want to have distinct values, and if they're supposed to repeat many times, they want to make sure there are 0 unique values because they're supposed to be repeating many times. Okay, so this is massive data cleaning that we've done, and at a glance you can tell that we have 100 rows, or each value the count of the values are up to 100. So what it means is that we have 100 incidents already registered. Okay, so what we are going to do is that we are going to be loading this, but before we load this, let's start to look at our dimension tables. Now we are going to be using those dimensions as filters in our dashboard. All right, so those filters are going to be connecting to this, and once we apply those filters, it's going to filter out on our dashboard. So which ones are we going to be using as filters? We're going to look at incident by location, incident by department, and incident types, right? So let's create a reference of this. Now, it is important to use reference just because reference makes it distinct of the other. So when this data set changes, this one will not change, okay? So let's just create a reference of this, okay? Now, this one is going to be department. So let's just filter out the rest, remove other columns, rename this as department. Okay, we move on to the next, and this one will be incident types, right? So we remove other columns, okay, and then we're gonna sort of rename this as incident types, but we have to clean up the data, right? So this one also we're gonna remove. This one will be location, right? Now we already created a location right in here, right? So we're just going to remove the other, columns, and then we'll rename this location. Now, one thing we need to know is that when it comes to dimension tables, they all have to be unique, right? They have to be unique values, because this becomes like the new primary key, a unique list of locations that's going to filter the other location. So dimension tables oftentimes will have a primary key anyway, but in this context, this has to be the unique location, list of locations, right? So just remove the duplicates. So remove duplicates and have the unique list of location. Remove the incident types to have the duplicates in it, to have unique list of incident types, and then the departments are so we want to have the unique list of departments. So there's a unique list of department. Now what we're going to do next is that we're going to load this. We're going to load to data model. Okay, this one will load to Excel table. Okay, so for now let's load to data model for now. Okay, so basically we're gonna have it in an Excel table, and then we're gonna also create connection. We're gonna load to an Excel table in another sheet. We're going to add to the data model. So let's just click on everything for now. So this is now going to load. Okay, it's going to create all the relevant columns, but we don't need all of these tables. We don't need all of this table in our workbook, right? The source data is what we need in our table, in our workbook, for people to see what we came out with after cleaning the data. Because when we are creating a dashboard, we want them to see the work we did in terms of data cleaning, so that they can understand that, okay, this is exactly what we did. If you don't want to understand why we are having not applicable in some of the areas, they could actually understand and everything just with the clean data. So these ones we're going to see establish connection only, right? So this one, we don't need it. We don't need a only connection. So it's already loaded to data model. So this one we say connection only. It's going to remove this connection only, meaning that it should rather be in the data model as a connection only. We don't need it to be in our worksheet. So you can come to connection only, right? And then this one also connection only. Okay, we move on to this one and we say load to and connection only. All right. So that's pretty much it. So we can delete these sheets because there's nothing in there. We don't need them here. We don't need these ones here, right? So this is what we want to have in the templates, right? We could load to data model. Sorry, it's already loaded to data model, but we could load and create connection only, but not needed. We just want them to see. We want them to see that. We keep it and hide it somewhere. Okay. So the next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna insert our pivot tables. All right. So basically, we have we've hidden it, right? So I mean, we could. Yeah, we can choose not to hide it so that people can actually see that this is what we clean, the clean data that we have in our data set, right? So the next thing we're going to do is we're just going to say that insert a pivot table. We are not going to click on this. We're just going to go insert pivot table. So we are saying that we are loading the pivot table from our data model, not a table range or anything. So from our data model, we want it on a new worksheet, right? So this is a new worksheet, and this worksheet, we're going to call it calculation. All right. So basically calculations all going to happen in here, right? Now, one thing we need to do is that we need to now do the data modeling. I think we forgot to do that. So quickly, let's go to manage. Very, very important, because we need to establish the relationship, right? So we come to manage, and then we need to now create our calendar table. So calendar table, we come to design, and we enter date table, and say new date table. So it's going to auto populate a calendar table for us. And that calendar table is taking its reference from the date column in our source data. So the starting date is going to pick that very starting date, and it's going to look at the end date. So every time we add on new data, the date keeps extending. So there's a dynamic calendar table, and it's auto populate. That's the beauty of Excel. Power Query in Excel, Power Pivot in Excel, right? So once we have this, we move on to the next thing. We come to the home and we go to diagram view. So we want to connect these tables together. So this is our source data, right? So this is our fact table, this is our dimension table, all right? So we're going to connect calendar to the date column. Okay, so what we did, we did something. We didn't name the date after we created another table, right? So let's go back. After we created another column, we didn't do that. So let's say for now, let's go to, the sheet, and let's go to Power Query. Now, if you want to go back to Power Query, click on data, come to query and connection, and let's go to our source data. Click on edit. So it takes us to Power Query. And then we need to make sure that this date is a correct date name, right? So this date is supposed to be date. And even with our data cleaning, we need to make sure the columns are properly described, right? Properly typed. You can see that description here is wrong. It's supposed to be with the O, right? So we've cleaned it up. Now, we've literally finished our data clean. Now we're going to click on load. And then we go to the Power Pivot, go to manage. So if you don't have Power Pivot on your computer, just make sure that let's go back. In case you don't have Power Pivot on your computer, always come to File, go to Options, go to Add-ins. Okay, you go to Add-in, come over here and choose the COM Add-in. You go to click on Go, and you check Power Pivot. You check Power Pivot to make sure it's checked. That's going to open Power Pivot for you up here. All right. So let's go to Power Pivot, let's manage, and let's connect. So the date will now connect to the date here. Location will now connect to location here. So we can actually arrange them nicely. Okay. Department will now connect to department here. And then incident type will connect to incident type, right? So that is basically what we mean by connecting, establishing relationship. And the relationship we are establishing is one-to-many relationship or many-to-one relationship. So you can see the direction of the arrow. So it's a one-to-many relationship. Now, the reason why we call it one-to-many relationship is the fact that this is a distinct value. We decided to make sure it was a distinct value. So distinct list of department connecting to our fact table that has department occurring many times. So unique values against values that could occur many times, right? So this is basically a unique list of parameters. Okay, so that's pretty much with establishing relationship and making sure. So once we click on this, it can filter this, you can use this as filters. All of these could be used as filters. Okay, so now let's close and let's click on the Excel and go back. So now we've been able to establish a relationship. We created our pivot table on a new sheet, right? So we're gonna just try and refresh to make sure everything updates, because we now connected the various tables. So we've established a relationship. We just want to make sure that this pivot table is based on the relationship that we've established, because we loaded it, we inserted it from the data model, right? So basically what we're going to do is that we're going to create our DAX measures, and that's very important. So this phase, we are creating the calculations that we're going to use for our dashboard. So what we're going to do is that we are going to, basically come to Power Pivot and go to measures. We click on measures. Okay, so within the measures, box, dialog box, we're going to click on new measure. Now take note that the table is here as source data. I did mention that we want to be able to identify what the source data is, or where we're going to be doing all the calculations. So is there a source data? These are all the list of departments, right? I mean, these are the list of dimension tables that we have. We're going to be doing calculation from the source data. Now, every time we start to type a column, because we've selected a table name, it's going to be picking those columns within the table. So the first is total incident. So total incident, okay. Basically, what we're trying to do here is that we're going to count the rows in the table. Remember that the count rows actually is going to count the number of rows within the table, and we already know that it's a total of 100, right? So we click on equal, we check the formula, there's no issue, we click on the number, we make sure we change it to a whole number, and then we hit OK. So this is our first sort of measure, DAX measure that we've calculated, which is for total incident. Let's go back to our set of questions and let's see. Remember that we are trying to count how many personal injuries. So let's go and check how many personal injuries. So we go to new and we count the number of personal injuries. But before we count the number of personal injuries, we will be counting all the various types of personal injuries. All right. So let's quickly go to number of, let's see, restricted. Let's start with fatalities, right? So fatalities, we can see you're going to use a calculate function, and we're going to see count, basically, the source data incident types, right? It's going to count that, but the condition is that it should count the source data only if the incident type is equal to fatality, right? So because we're writing a text, we're going to put it in double quotation, right? And we're going to check the formula. So there's no issue with it. We go to the number, we select whole number, and we hit on OK. But before we do that, let's copy this because we're going to need it for other measures, right? So we want lost time injury, right? Lost time injuries. And then we're going to control C, just paste this one, and this time around we are changing this to lost time injury. Now, the way around this, always, we want to make sure that we know the name. Okay, so let me just do something. Let's hit on OK. Let's close this. These values, we've already created them. When we go to the source data, you can see all of these measures are there, right? But one thing we need to do is that you could have, these ones are the tables that we have, the source data, and then the table, the incident log table. Okay, and these are the ones that are based on the queries that we have in our, Power Query. So these are the ones that the tables that we have in there. These are the ones we have within the worksheet. Okay, so we're gonna try to let it show in the active tabs, right? So because we don't confuse ourselves, right? So when it comes to active tabs, you can see the ones that we are supposed to be working with. Okay, they're all in here. Okay, sometimes you have a long list of tables and you don't want to confuse yourself, so you want to bring some to the active field. Now what we're going to do is that the measures that we just calculated, we're going to select them right in here, and we're going to start to populate. So the total incident is this, fatality is this, lost time injury is that. So we're going to continue in that order. Okay, I'm going to create another pivot table. Okay, and we're going to load it from data model as well. We're going to put it on the existing sheet, and then we are going to use the total incident. We're going to put it in the value section, and then we're going to pick the location. So the incident types, we're going to pick it and bring it here. So pretty much we've brought in the various types of incident, and we have the total incident. Now we could have used this column header like incident types. It's not a big deal if you want to use that. You could use that, but take note, these are dimension tables we're going to use as filters, but you can actually use this and then make sure that you're using the explicit measure. All right, so we could have probably just said that bring in the count of incidents, so the count of incident types, right? Count of incidents, where are you? Let's bring in the count of incidents, and we're still gonna get the same thing, but we cannot use this in subsequent calculation. So this then becomes an implicit measure. An implicit measure is basically the aggregate of the columns within our table. Okay, so the aggregates, you can have it as count or sum. So oftentimes you just see them by default as sum or count, but we will not be able to reference this in subsequent calculations, right? So we won't want to use that. We always want to use the one that we've created, which is, basically the measure that we've created for incident, number of incidents. So that's what we have in there. Okay, now let's click on this and let's continue to create our measures. So let's go to the new manage measures and let's continue. So right now I intentionally brought in this one so that we can see them clearly, how they've been spelled within our data set or our data model after cleaning, right? So let's just select this one. We hit edit, we control C, copy it, we cancel, we come to the new one, we paste it in there. The source data is the table we are using, and this time we want to basically calculate first aid cases, right? First aid cases, and we need to type in the correct terminology in here. We can see it is there as first aid, right? So let's type first aid. Okay, so let's check if there's any issue. Now there's a problem. You say you have a problem, right? The measure must start with an equal sign, so we put in the equal sign. So always you need to check to make sure everything is correct, right? Every time you're starting a measure, you need to start with an equal sign. Now the number, we change it to the whole number, and then we hit on OK, and then we create another one. Okay, so there's an equal sign that we're going to paste it in there, calculate. Now this time we're going to do medical treatment injury. So we are literally repeating this step just for you to see how to calculate some type of DAX measures. We're repeating it so that it can actually stick, right? So that you don't forget. Okay, so we are saying calculate count of the incident type, but the incident type should be medical treatment injury. So we are calculating medical treatment injury, right? Medical. Okay, so that's we could just make it injuries, right? Injuries, medical treatment injuries. Let's check. No issue. Number is supposed to be a whole number, and we hit OK. Okay, and then the last one is a restricted work case. So these are the types of personal injuries or personal injury incidents, right? So restricted work case, we type in okay. So just mind that whenever you are typing this, it has to be exactly. Whoa, did I edit or let me cancel. I was editing. Let's create a new one. Okay, so this is the new one, and let's make sure that it's exactly what we want. Okay, so the name restricted work case is not cases, so it's case, right? So we need to check properly and make sure it's case. And then we hit OK. There's no issue with the formula, and then the number format, we change it to whole number, and we hit OK. So in terms of personal injuries, we have fatality, lost time injury, medical treatment, restricted work case, and first aid, right? Fatality, we didn't spell it correctly, so let's try and spell it all. Fatality. Okay. So that's pretty much it. So we're going to create a new measure, and we call it personal injuries, right? And then this time it's going to be a sum function, right? Or we don't even want to use sum function. We're just going to use those measures that we calculated. So this plus fatality plus. So whenever we are referencing any measure, we use the brackets, right? The bracket. So first aid plus medical treatment case, and then the other one will be restricted work case, right? So fatality, first aid, lost time, medical treatment, restricted case, right? These are the, basically the personal injury. We check, there's no error, and then we select whole number, and that's personal injuries. Okay, so we have the personal injuries. The next measure we're going to be calculating is what's the percentage of human error, right? So we're going to count how many human errors we have. So human errors, we're going to use the calculate function again, calculate, and we're going to count the source data. We go to the human error, that's cost category, right? So source data, we locate the cost category, that's a cost category. Okay, but what do we want? We want the source category to give us, should rather be equal to human error. Now the human error should be the correct spelling, right? So I'm hoping it's human error. That's exactly how we spelled it. We check for error, there's no error, everything's okay. All right, and then we're going to do a percentage of the human error. So the percentage of human error, is basically going to divide the human error. So we use a square bracket, human error, and then we bring the denominator, which is total incidents, and then we can say that if it is wrong, it should return a 0, but obviously it's not going to be wrong anyway. So that's pretty much the percentage. The number format should be percentage and no decimal piece, right? So we also, basically select it in there. And we're going to do another one, which is percentage incident investigated. Now, how do I know that? Let's go back to, our sort of project requirements. So we are looking at percentage of human error, percentage completed investigation, right? We've already calculated all of this. So let's go back to our sheet. Okay, and then say that number of investigation completed. So let's say investigation completed, or number of investigation completed, it doesn't really matter. Now let's do the calculate function again. We're going to count the source data. We go to investigation, level of investigation, right? And then we need to close parentheses. So every time we open parentheses for the source data, we need to close it and continue, because we are literally calculating. This one we've opened parentheses already. Okay, so this one closes it and we continue with the argument. So the same source data, we go to level of investigation should be equal to completed. Okay, and we check for any error. There's no error. It's just going to be number, right? Whole number. We hit OK, and then we create a new measure, and this is going to be percentage investigation completed. And then this one is going to be a divide function. And we're going to say that the investigated divided by the denominator, which is total incident, and then if it is wrong, it should give us 0. Okay, and then we check and sort of change it to percentage, no decimal. So that's pretty much it. We've created our list of measures. Let's quickly have a look. Okay, so let's click on this pivot table. It's already open. Let's open the source data. You can see all the measures that we calculated are all in here. So we need total incidents. We don't need fatality. We don't need lost time. We need personal injuries. We need percentage human error. We need percentage investigation completed. So this is pretty much what we need for our dashboard. Do you understand? Now we're going to be creating various types of incidents. Let's look at it. we want incident by types of incident. We already done that. We load severity levels, location, department, causal category. So that's exactly what we're going to be doing. I just have to quickly go back and then create the pivot tables. Now the pivot tables, we can literally copy and paste and change. So we just make sure that instead of department, now we are doing, instead of incident type, now we are doing department. And then we paste again down here. Instead of department, we will now do cause category. Okay, we control C and we paste down. Make sure that the spaces between are enough to accommodate any new data that will be entering, because potentially it's going to extend, and once you get here, it may overwrite it, or it may tell us there's an error, pivot table cannot update. So we've done incident by incident types, incident by department, incident by causal category. So the causal category, the count of all of these stuff. And then the last one will be severity levels, right? So severity levels. So we have how many charts? We're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, right? Is it 4 that we have? 1. So we're going to estimate the trend, right? We're going to do a trend of the incident. So with that, then we are going to use our calendar table. Okay. So let's create another pivot table. Control C, and let's try to come all the way here. Okay. So Control V. And then instead of incident types, I'm not going to use the calendar table and select basically the calendar date, right? So we're going to bring it over here. But with this one, I mean, instead of just the calendar day, I rather want to select month. Okay, so let's remove the calendar, because the calendar has a hierarchy. I mean, when you collapse it and you open, you can see the various months. Okay, so basically we're going to use the month rather. So when you open, you're going to see you have the month here, you have the values. With pivot table, the values must always come to the value section. The value could be a numeric value, or it could be a category. If it's a category, it's going to be there as count. If it's a numeric value, it's going to be there as sum. But we've already summed what we want, so we put it here as a value, and then whatever we want it to be on the rows section is going to be right in here. So this is pretty much the charts, the pivot tables that we've created. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Wow, there's another one. So let's go back and check. Okay, so we have the percentage of, we have incident trend, which is the one that we just created, incident type, severity levels, location. I think we did not add location, so let's go back and check the location. Okay, so we don't have location in here, right? So we're going to create another pivot table for location. So now there's open, basically we change this from injury severity to location. So we have incident by location. Now we are going to be doing something. Okay, we want to create the maximum of all of this. Remember, in our dashboard, we could track the highest of all of this. So department was administration was the highest of the departments. How do we establish that in the chart? Okay, so we could just go ahead and say that let's create our chart like this, but we can't tell which one is the highest. We could filter, we could sort of sort the largest to the smallest. It's going to show it like this, but we can't clearly establish the fact that first is the highest, though at a glance you can see. We want to make it more visible. So what we're going to do is that we're going to create some helper columns. So what we did was that we're going to use, but before that, let's ensure that the table is properly formatted. So we go to design. When you click on the pivot table, we come to design, we come to report layout and show it in tabular form. So it's going to bring the type of data it is. So it's incident type. So we do it for all of them. So report and change to tabular, and going to bring the department in here. So row label should not be there. We should make it the correct name of the table, which is cost category. And then we're going to do the same thing for this one as well. Okay. And same for this as tabular. Okay. Now another thing we want to do is that we may probably want to name our pivot tables, but for now let's not do that. Okay, let me try to reduce the rows that are in here, because this one is not going to extend down, so we can just bring everything closer a little bit. Okay, So over here, we need the space here for some calculation. We need the space here for some calculations. Okay, so what we're gonna do is that we're gonna use a trim range function. Okay, equal trim range, and what trim range is gonna do is that it is going to bring everything in here to another table. I mean, we could use sort and all, but I prefer to use trim range. It brings everything here. Okay, so literally we're gonna be working with this as opposed to this. So we could do the same thing for all. All right, so trim range. And we select all of it, hit enter. Usually what trim range does is that, it sort of cleans up the data and presents it in another section, the same data array, I mean column array or row array of data that you've selected. It's going to just bring everything into another section so you can work with it. Okay, so trim range is something that we use a lot. Okay, and then we do the same thing again. So we've literally created a helper. Okay, so we've created a helper, sort of columns, right? Now, I think we have to get rid of the totals. We don't need the totals. Let's put up the totals. Okay, so let's off total for all of them. All the total for both row and column. Okay, all the total. Other than that, it's not going to give us a correct value when we plot our charts. We're going to have another data point for row, for total. Okay, so that's pretty much. Let's look at it. You see, as it adjusted, as we remove it, has adjusted automatically. That's the essence of trim function. So whenever there's a new addition, it's gonna sort of extend. Okay, so that's pretty much it. So what we're gonna do is that let's try to make it look nicer. Let's let it extend a little bit. So basically this now becomes the new data that we're going to be working with. So what we're going to do is that we want to find a maximum value, right? So maximum value, we're going to use a max function to select the entire range here. It should give us the maximum value, and the maximum value is 4. We're going to say that give us a highlight. So this one becomes a highlight. We want to highlight what is the maximum value. So we're going to say that if this value is equal to the maximum value, it should return this value. If not, it should give us a not applicable. Okay, and we hit enter. Now we want to make sure we lock this. So to lock this, we use a F4 to lock it. Once we lock it, it becomes an absolute reference, which means we can just drag it all the way over here. So now we can tell that the maximum values are these ones, right, within the data set. So we're going to just repeat for all of them. Control C, paste it here, check the range, make sure it's the correct range. Control C, paste here, check the range, make sure it's the correct range. Control C, paste here, double click, make sure it's the correct range. Control C and paste here. So we've established the maximum values for all of them. And this one as well, we could, basically the highlights. Let's just, Control C for the first ones, paste here, paste here, paste here. Okay, paste here. Okay, so we just come and correct it properly. So, we want to move very fast. So basically this one is referencing this. Let's bring it down. Should I reference this, and then we drag it down, right? And this one is still referencing the one at the top, so we bring it here, and then we drag it down. Okay. Oh, this one is referencing wrong value. We bring it here rather. Okay, and we sort of drag it down. This one also is referencing this one at the top, so we will bring it down. to this one, then we hit enter. So basically we don't want to repeat the step, we want to move very fast. So let's just, you know, bring this one all the way down, and then there's the max, right? The max, and we say it's an absolute reference, right? And then we are saying that if this is equal to this, it should return this. If not, it should return and not applicable value. All right, so that's pretty much what we have in here. So we're now going to plot our chart based on this. So we're going to say that insert a chart. So the chart is going to be like a bar chart. This is what we have for this one. Okay, we're going to import, we create another chart for this one. Same bar chart is for this one. Let's resize it nicely so that you know this one is for this one is for that. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing for this. Insert a bar chart. Okay, resize it nicely because we're going to remove them anyway. We're going to copy them to the other sheet anyway. So let's just create all our visuals really quick. Okay, so that's pretty much what we have in here, and we do the same thing for this one as well. Insert. Okay, so we have 5 charts. Okay, I mean 6 charts. Okay, or how many? We have 5, and then we're gonna do for this one. This one also we may want to do the minimum and the maximum. So we can do the same thing as well. We didn't do it in our dashboard. So let's just do the same thing. Trim range. And then we're going to select all of this. We hit enter, but let's remove the the grand total for all of them. Okay, and then we're going to see that the maximum value, right? So the maximum value is going to be here. It's going to be here. Max of the values. Okay, and then we're saying that if there's a highlight, right? If this value is equal to this, it should return this value. If not, it should return and not applicable. Okay, but we want to make sure that this is logged. So all F, you hold the F key and click on F4. That's going to lock it, and then we're going to drag it down. So this one is the highest, right? So that's the highlight. Okay, we can make it bigger so you can see. So now we plot a new graph. Now take note, this one we didn't make it a tabular. Layout should be tabular so you can see clearly, right? So this one is month, and then this one is incident, and we're going to plot our chart, right? Go to insert, go to line chart, and then we're going to basically plot our charts. Which one should we use? This one. So the highlight is there, you wouldn't see it. The highlight is there, you wouldn't see it. So now let's copy all the visuals. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Control C. Let's come here. Control V. Okay. So now we just have to arrange our chart. Oh, I think we forgot. Which one is okay? So this one we can tell is incident types, right? Okay, so let's quickly name them. But usually you're supposed to do that before you copy, because we don't have to be going back and forth. Incident types. This one is incident by department, right? Okay. Now, one thing is that even in as much as we have these names, we could probably just use a text box. Okay, so we may change that eventually anyway, but I just want to make sure that I can see everything, right? Incident trend, and then causal category. And then incident severity levels, right? And then this one is location, incident by location. In as much as I'm making these typing all of these, we may change them using text box rather, because text box allows us to center them to the left as opposed to this one that is only in the middle. So we're gonna have our incident type on the left side. We're gonna have our injury severity right in here. We're gonna have our incident trend also over here. Okay, and then we're gonna have our incident by departments here. We're gonna have our incident location here, and then incident injury category, like incident cause category. They're gonna be here. Okay, and then we're gonna be bringing in our KPI cards. Okay, so the KPI cards, let's go back to the calculation and let's name this. Let's name them. All right, so we're gonna use an approach to picking them. Sometimes you could just use a text box and hit the equal sign and pick the value here, but we want to be much faster with it. So we're gonna name this. We call it total incident. So or let's just call it incident. Okay, and hit enter. So that's gonna name this. You can name any cell or any table right from this section. Here is gonna be injuries. Let's just call it injuries. This one is gonna be human errors. Every time you're naming, you don't have to leave any space. Here's gonna be investigation completed. Let's just call it investigations. All right. So that's pretty much what we've done. So we go to insert. You click on the the text box. So in chronological order, right? So we just click here and we hit the equal sign and we start to type. And the names that we introduced, they're all gonna be there. So this one is incident, right? So that's the incident. We hit the enter and that's right there. Control C, Control V. We just hit the equal sign and we type. So this one is injuries, right? So it was injuries. Exactly, injuries. We hit enter. Control C, Control V. We also, continue like human error, right? We hit enter. The last one is investigation. So that's pretty much what we've used, to pull all of these in here. So right now, what we are supposed to be doing is our wireframing and everything. But before that, let's introduce our slices. So we click on any of the pivot tables like this one, and we go and check the slicer that we want to use. Now take note that our slices are our dimension tables, right? So we just want to go in here. So this slicer is for incident type. Okay. So basically the slices for the pivot table. Okay, the slices are for the pivot tables. Departments, we need departments. Okay, so we could use our dimension table as I did mention. So this is what we are inserting a slicer. So we go to insert slicer. Insert slicer. So we're gonna use a dimension table for that department. So the department is right there, okay? And then we continue. Insert a slicer. We go to insert. We go to insert. And then this time around, it's gonna be human error, right? So we go to all and let's find human errors. Where is it? Okay, sorry, we don't need human error. We just need department and location. Remember, location. So go to slicer, we go to insert, and then we go to all and find the dimension table, which is location. This is the location. Okay, now this is one I think we use the table columns. So let's just do it again and go to insert slicer and let's look for incident type. So we use this one. So this one is actually the, basically the same dimension table size that we are using. So we're gonna copy this, control this, hold control C, and then you paste it here, and then we can take our time to delete these ones. Sometimes when you do control V straight away, it's not gonna allow you. Okay, so what we're gonna do is that this one is, all of these are gonna be on the left side. Okay, so remember incident, basically was here. Okay, so this one was here, department followed, and then basically location also followed, right? So what we're going to do is that we're going to report connection. Okay, so what we're going to do is that we're going to report connection, right? And when we report connection, we're able to control all the pivot tables. And then we're going to report connection for this as well. And then we're going to report connection for this one also. All right, so what it means is that this one can control everything. You want to control everything. Okay, so incident by department. I don't know why it's not showing. What's going on with this? Okay, so let's go back and check what's happening with incident by department. I deleted this. Something went wrong with this. So let's bring back the, basically the train function again. Control C. Oops. Okay, so everything is back. That's why our calculation, once we are done, we need to be able to hide them. So we're going to hide this because we are done. We're not going to be pulling anything else from here. So what we are going to do next is our wireframing. So wireframing is basically designing the dashboard layout. Okay, so in designing the dashboard layout, that's when we went to our PowerPoint. Okay, so basically I'll just go back and pick the wireframe that we used, and just to save some time, so we're going to go here and we're going to look at the wireframe that we used. All right, I'm going to open this. All right, so this is what we used. Okay, and in trying to design this, it's very, very simple. We just try to, basically have a clean sheet. We introduce a shape, which is going to be like the background. There's the first shape. Okay, and then we start the designing. So basically this shape that we have here, when you go to the insert and we go to shapes, you can pick the exact one. This is there's one that has this very one. So this one is like this, and we literally, turn it like this, and then we bring it in here somewhere. Okay, and then we bring it over all the way here, and we have another one. So basically we have another shape. So that's a rounded rectangle with rounded corners. We come to shape, go to rectangle with rounded corner, and then we sort of draw it like this. Then we can try to make the corner a bit to fit this one like this, and we send it to the back. Okay, we send this one also to the back. So then the rectangle is in front here, this one is in front of it, and then this one is still at the back. And what we did was that we went to dribble. Okay, so we literally go on dribble, but before that we created all our cards. So the cards is basically the fact that we go to the insert and look for rounded rectangle like this. We create 4 of it. and then we just make sure they are properly aligned, evenly distributed. Okay, so we put it in the middle, we distribute them evenly distributed. Okay, and then we use the same thing to sort of create the number of charts that we are looking to create. So we have 6 charts, so we're gonna create 6 of it like this. So the sizes should be consistent, so we're gonna reduce the size a little bit so that we can, bring them together like this. Now the interesting thing is that whenever you're using PowerPoint, you can gauge properly in terms of sizes. So Control C, Control V, and we sort of bring it down here, but you notice that it's too big, so we can select all of them and resize. So that's pretty much what we did. And then we try to find some colors. So the colors that we use is basically the fact that we went on a particular site. We call it dribble. Okay, so we went to have dribble all these already saved. So usually I always want to have my color hex codes from a particular site ready. And then I also go to, let's say, browse thousands of dashboards. So this one is like where I can have various color grades. So this one is htmlcolorcodes.com. So I can get hex codes for all colors. And over here I could get, basically the chart that I could use if I want to have some inspiration from various dashboard designs. And then I have another side that I go for, picking colors, right? So if I come here and look at any of the charts, so this is the one that we actually use for inspiration as far as dashboard design was concerned, right? So it's taking time to load. So we make sure we replicate a color like this. And how did we do that? We just take a snipping tool to snip this, and then we come here and then we just click here and then we paste the image in there. Once we paste the image in there, it's going to pick the color. So we basically, if you want a color, you just click on it. It's going to give us a hex codes. So that's pretty much what we did, right? So we selected the hex code. We came to this, and then we said we want the background to be this color. So we just fill and then we select, right? So we could rather go to more, fill, and then we paste it in there, right? Control C, Control V. Sorry, the hex code. So let's go back and select. That's the hex code that we have in here. Control C. And we come to the PowerPoint and Control V. We paste it in there. So it gives us the background, and we come back again to this one. This is a lighter one, right? So the lighter one is this one, pretty much. So we just, select the lighter one. So that lighter one is going to be our background, the background for the visual. So it's going to be for this one. So we just, go to more, and then we paste in there. Okay, I think I didn't copy it well, so let's go back and copy it properly. Okay, so it's sort of taking me back. Let's go back a little bit, one step before. Okay, so we select the background. There's a background that we used. So we Control C and then go here and then change it. It doesn't want to allow me. That's fine. It's not a big deal. But basically, you get a point. That's the hex code. So the hex codes, we could literally use this hex code from here because we already have it here. So I'm just gonna use a paint format, paint brush. I come here and I paste it in there. Then I come over here and I select the different one. I select this. So it's literally the same process of copying hex codes. I paste this, paste this, paste this, paste this, paste this, paste it in here. Then I come here, I know this color. So basically it's all about looking at the colors that you like, and then you use it to create your nice wireframe, okay? And the fact that, you could do a lot more nice, changes to all of this. So we just, basically, copy this, we bring it here, we paste all them here. So that's basically what we did when we were designing the dashboard. And then again, the other thing we did was the fact that we also, brought in some shadows. So this one, usually, we could try to make it, all right, we could try to make the corners a bit, not too round. And then we rather use that Control C, Control V like this. And then we select both of them, Control V, Control C like this. align, Control C, Control V like this, and align, and it looks cool, right? And then we can bring in some shadows. So that's exactly what we did with the visual. We went to Effect, brought in some shadows, and we made sure the shadow is not too black, it's a bit light. So we went in here and selected something lighter like this, you know, to make it very, very cool. So, you know, basically copy the paintbrush, you use the paintbrush to make it look like this. Okay, so that's pretty much what we did, creating our visuals, I mean our wireframe. So as you can see, it's literally the same as what we have in there, right? So let's quickly copy this one that we've created. We will just adjust it one more time when we go on to the visual. So let's just make sure that nothing is applying to our visual. Let's Control C and let's go to our chart. Okay, and paste it right in here. Control V. Okay, Control C and Control V. So we now have it in here. So what we're going to do is that we're going to group it, because we are not done working with this. Let's group it and put it somewhere. Okay, so our slices, we know the slices, all of these must come in front. Even in the background, we didn't remove the outlines. We can just go and say no outline, right? So no outline. So there's no outline with the background. Now what we're going to do is we're going to send it back, send it back, so everything is in front, and we just bring everything here. Okay, then what we're going to do is that we're going to now align these charts. So this one, we're going to resize it nicely, put it here. This one, we're going to resize it nicely, put it here. This one, we're going to resize it nicely and put it here. Okay, we do it for this one as well. And we do for this also. And we do for this. And then this one is going to be right here. This one will be right here. And this one is going to be right here. Okay, now given the fact that we need more space, right? So we can try to resize. So there's going to be a scroll bar in there for each one of them. Okay, so we are bringing in our visuals, literally. Okay, so this is the incident type. It's probably, here is better. This is the location. So location actually was, that was the one that followed. And then department also followed. Okay, and we did some changes. So this one, we could try to resize it, you know, reduce the height of the slices. Okay, so let's see everything properly. Let's increase it a little bit. This is okay, 0.6, right? And then this one too comes in, we have 0.6. Okay, and we have this one also following. We could reduce the, you know, the width a little bit. So that's what size it is. Let's make it, you know, 3.9 or 4. Let's make it 4. This one also will make it 4. And then this one to be 4. Okay, so this one can be here, and this one would have to come up a little bit. You can bring it here a little bit. So let's just Control All and try to bring everything here so that we can see it clearly. Okay, so this is what we have for now. We have the slicer. So this one, we reduce the length of the buttons, right? So it's 0.6. This one is also 0.6. And this one is supposed to be 0.6. So we have those slices in there. And then these ones, we would have to resize them properly. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to remove the outline, we're going to remove the background, the no background. We're going to remove these legends, we're going to remove the values on the y-axis. Even when it comes to this, I did mention we're going to remove it because we want to make sure it's much bigger. We're going to remove the grid lines, and we are going to overlap. So we come to format data series, we're going to overlap everything like this, and we're going to increase the size. So in increasing this, reducing the gaps, we just have to do it so that it's much nicer. Let's make it like 15. Okay, 15 is not bad. Okay, that's okay. We remove this one. So basically you can just Control C and Control V. Let's see if it works. Okay, it wouldn't work. So let's just follow the manual process. Okay. Now we will do something regarding severity level, because severity level we are getting the non-applicable. So we're going to work on that shortly. Okay. Now what we are supposed to be doing with that, okay, let's go back to the calculation. The calculation, instead of using total incident for the injury severity, total incident is much of a bigger set. The personal injury is a subset. Now we're looking at injury severity. These are strictly related to personal injury. So instead of the total incident, we're going to be using total personal injuries, and that automatically removes the not applicable. So when we come here, we notice the not applicable is not showing. So you have to sort of clean this range properly. This one is not supposed to be there. We're going to remove it. Okay, so it's not supposed to be there. So remove it. And when we go back, we want to make sure that when we go to select data, we want to make sure that the range is up to where we have data points, so we don't have those extra space at the top. So we'll be able to fix it. Let's quickly format data label. Data series. We overlap and we make the gap. Was it 18 that we said? This one was 15. This one is 20. It's 18. Let's make it like let's say 30, because it has to be the same size as all of them, so that it looks much cleaner. Okay, so let's say 50. 50 is not bad, or let's say 60. Okay, we can keep increasing a little bit so that it looks much better. So we just go with 80. This is not bad. Okay, and then we move on to this. This is the trend chart. Now take note that we need to reformat this data. This January to December is too big. It doesn't fit in properly. So we go to the Power Pivot. We go to Manage, and then we go to the Data View. And then this one, we don't want this long January. So we want the shorter January. Or the month. So we remove the format. We change it to, the 3 letters, right? So that's the triple M. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to say that format, we go to sort. We go to sort column by month number. So just to make sure that it's according to the month number. So you're going to do that. Okay. So that is usually when your dates or your month are not following in a chronological order. Okay, so now we've done that. We've removed basically the background and everything. So let's do that quickly. Remove the shape fill, remove the outline, remove the shape fill, remove the outline, remove the grid lines, remove shape fill, outline, remove the legends, remove the X values, the X axis values, right? And then format data series, overlap, and then we would make it like 80 or 60. There's a lot of them, so let's make it like 50, or let's go to 30. Okay, that's not bad, right? And what else? Remove this, the grid line in the chart. We do the same thing for this. So basically, creating a chart is a lot of steps that will be taken. This one we seem to have a space in front. What's going on with this? Let's go to select data and let's see what's happening. Okay, there's no space. Everything is okay. That's fine. So with this one also, format data series overlap, and then we increase it to maybe, let's see, 80. Okay, let's go for 90 or even 100. So this is okay. And then we do for this one as well. And this one in our chart is actually a column chart instead of a bar chart. So let's change it to, change chart type. And let's choose a column chart. Okay. And then let's overlap it and make it much smaller. Let's go for 200 or 250. Okay, this is okay. So what we are going to do, we need to remove the background, the grid lines, remove the shape fill, shape outline, shape fill, shape outline. Okay, and let's try to work on our slices. So with regards to our slices, we just basically go to slicer, duplicate this, and we call it maybe dashboard. This slicer is for the dashboard, right? And so what we're going to do is that we're going to format, but before we format, let's ensure that we are picking the colors. So this is the color we're going to be using. Let's go to more and select this hex code, Control C, and hit OK. We come here and we come to the duplicate. So this is the duplicate we created. We go to modify, and then the background, the whole slicer background, we change it from white to the color that we have as a background, and that's pretty much it. And then the header is going to be white font. We change to white and we hit OK. And the selected value, we need to pick the color again. So we need to make sure we go and pick the color for the lighter one. So this lighter one that we see at the back, we go and pick the color again. So we go to more, Control C, and then we go to slicer. We select the slicer, we modify again, and we go to with data selected. So we click on format, and we change the fill from this one to the lighter one. Okay, and then the font will still be black anyway. Now another thing that we didn't do was that the whole slicer, we don't want any border, so we just go to border and you see no border. So that's pretty much what we have, as we can see, and we just select this and apply that setting to it. So it's applied to it. Okay, so we have it in there, and then again we're gonna ensure that the colors are consistent. So let's go to format data series, go to the fill, and then we change the color to the darker one to a lighter one. So this is where our color site comes in, the side that we pick the colors, it comes in. So we just go to more, we select this, Control C. Okay, then we come to here, and this one, we paste it in there, we paste the hex code in there, then to give us something lighter. So let's go with the lighter one. So this is probably the lighter one. We're gonna do Control C, and then we go to our chart and choose the lighter one. Oh, sorry, I didn't select the chart. So I click on the chart, then I select the light one. There's a lighter one. Okay, and then the deeper one to select, and the deeper one we already know. So this is a deeper one. Okay, so we do it for all of them. This one, which is the primary axis, is going to be this, the deeper one. The secondary axis is going to be the lighter one. Primary axis will be the deeper one. Secondary axis is the lighter one. So that's pretty much what we did. Okay, and we took our time to bring in the symbols or the icons. So we do for this as well. Now when we are done, we're going to just simply arrange them properly. So this is, what we did. Okay, and this one also, we'll get back to it. So let's quickly go back to our calculation and sort all of them properly in, from the smallest to the highest, the smallest to the highest, the smallest to the highest, the smallest to the highest. Okay, so that's pretty much it, right? We come here, everything now arranged. So this one we didn't do it right, so let's do that quickly. Format, the primary axis. So that's what we have. And this one, we need to first and foremost format the secondary axis. So the secondary axis, the color could be maybe this one, and we go back to the primary axis. So basically it's the same. The only thing is that the markers, okay, so the data label. So let's add data label to there's a data label. Let's undo, let's go to the secondary axis, and that also may have its own data label. Okay, so with this one, we are not able to really establish the maximum point, even though we did a highlight. Okay, we could not establish that because in select data, we have the highlight, and then this one, the highlight, and this one. Okay, so basically the first axis, we click on data label. The primary axis, should not have a label. Let's go to the label, format data label. Let's go to format data label. And the format data label, we don't have option between primary axis and secondary axis. Okay, now according to our chart, we did not do highlight for this one. We simply used a lollipop chart, right? Sometimes looks like a lollipop. Now I see the data label. We can add it, so we can actually add a data label for the maximum and ignore data label for the minimum. You get it? So basically that's what we did. With this one, we could add a data label that's for the maximum. So if you're going with a line chart, format data series, you could now go and see smoothing it like this, and we have a chart like this. Okay, and that's the highest, but it's not really so visible and nice to look at. So let's just go with the lollipop chart. All right, so let's quickly go to design chart element, go to add elements, and go to add the drop lines. Once you add the drop lines, we go to the markers and select, go to marker option, go to built-in, and then choose the round one. Increase the size like this, and then the color should be a solid fill. We choose this one, and then the lines. Oops, sorry. Basically, there should be no border. It has to be border is no border. So this one is too big. Let's reduce it a little bit. And the lines. These lines, you could use the same solid line as what we have. Okay. So that's exactly what we did, and we have the maximum also there. Okay. So right now we're just bringing our data labels, add data label, add data label, add data label. add a data label, and we do it for this one as well. Okay, so let's try to bring everything up. Control A, Control C. Let's try to reduce the space here. Okay, let's hide. Let's show full screen. Though I may need a ribbon. Okay, so let's show tabs only. Okay, this one is okay. All right, and let's try to bring it in the middle. So this basically, as you see, we are progressing gradually, you know, with our dashboard. Okay, so what we're going to do is that instead of using these ones, you can't center them. I mean, you could center them anyway. It's not a bad idea to center them. It's not a bad idea, right? So we could still center them. That's fine. So let's go to. But one thing about having the chart title is that it reduces the size of, you know, our chart. It reduces the size. But I think it's not a bad idea. Okay, so let's just add the title for this one. Add chart title. Above, I did thought as much, right? It's reduced a little bit. So let's try to remove it and type it manually, because we want everything to look a little big, you know. This one, we remove it, so it looks much bigger. Another thing we didn't do is that we could remove the outline. There should be no line like this, so that it looks cool. So this is pretty much what we are looking at. We're trying to achieve. Okay, remove this one. We'll, you know, type it properly. Okay, now when it comes to visuals like this, you want to make sure the sizes are all the same. So let's try and make sure that the size is equal. So let's keep a standard size 7.5, and okay, I'm seeing what's going on here. For some reason, it's connecting the ratio, aspect ratio. I don't know why it's doing that. It's locking the aspect ratio. It's not supposed to lock it anyway, but for some reason it's not allowing me to keep a standard size for the charts. Okay, so let's do what we can do in terms of alignment, but there's still space. I want to find out why there is space. Let's select the data and check properly. Why do I still have space? Okay, so there's no space, but I don't know why there's so much space at the top though. I don't know why there's so much space. Okay, so let's try to change the chart type again. Let's try to do it column chart for now, and let's bring it back to bar chart. Okay, there's still space, but let's try to resize it properly and, you know, make it bigger. Okay, this okay. All right, that's fine. Let's go with this. Okay, all right, so I feel like we are wasting too much time, so let's quickly move on. The font is gonna be Century. I like to use Century Gothic. Century Gothic. Okay, so now we have this. Then the next thing we're gonna do is that we're gonna work on our KPI cards, right? So let's just resize all of them nicely. So we select all of them, resize them properly so that once this font size become much bigger, it doesn't sort of become too big. Let's work with let's say 28. We choose a font size. We like to use Segway UI bold. Okay, let's use black, and then we will change the font to white. We remove the background and then the fill, and then we will sort of bring them in there. Okay, so take our time and bring them here. Okay, and let's try to put them. Let's bring them here. Okay, and then we'll align them properly. So go to align and put it in the middle. And what we're going to do is that we're going to align them properly with these cards. Okay, now we've unfortunately grouped the cards, so let's ungroup. The dashboard, we grouped it after we brought them in, right? So we're going to ungroup and start working with these ones. So we're going to do this one is going to align to the right. So align to right, and let's make sure it's center. Oh no, sorry, it's in the middle. Okay, same with this one. Align to the right, and it should be in the middle. Later we can shift it a little bit down once you have them properly aligned, and this one as well. Okay, so there's something wrong with our layout. If you are paying attention, this one is too long. It's protruding all the way to the edge, right? So maybe we can try to select our dashboard background. These stuff, right? This one and this one and this one and this one and not this one and this one. Yes. And then what we're going to do is that we're going to take our time to increase it a little bit. Okay, and then we are going to shift these ones all the way to the right a little bit here, and then we are going to do the same thing for this one a little bit here. And then what we're going to do, we're going to make sure that we distribute evenly. Yes, so when it comes to dashboard design, so actually they didn't distribute because it's already evenly distributed, so that's fine. So one thing about dashboard design is that, really it takes a lot of effort, it takes a lot of time, so you just have to make sure you have time for what you're doing. Let's reduce the font to 8. Okay, so that they look much nicer in 8. Because there are instances where the chart wouldn't, some of the values wouldn't show properly, or they'll probably not even show at all if you have a lot of names on it. So this is what we're trying to do now. The font, we change it to gray. Okay, so it's gonna be this gray. Okay, let's see, this is probably the gray that we use, right? Okay, that's it. And then we do for all of them, so it shouldn't be too bright, do for all of them. We do for the labels as well. This label 2 should be 8. So if we're using pivot chart, we could rather copy the one chart and paste over the other, and it's going to replicate the format. However, because this one was based on a helper column, when you paste over it, it's going to introduce another series to the chart, and it will make it look weird. Okay, so that's what we have. We need to increase it a little bit so there's enough space between. And the next thing we're going to do is that, I mean, there's too much space here. So I think that what we did in the other dashboard was the fact that we brought in, something behind this. Okay, something behind this, like this. And then we remove the, basically the shadow. Okay, and we literally brought it down a little bit, so we need to make sure that the spacing between this and this are literally even, so we evenly vertically distribute. Okay, so I think that is going to distort what this one has rather come down a little bit. Okay, it vertically distributes. Okay, what it means is that I need to ensure that these ones equally distribute vertically. Properly aligned in the middle. Okay. Yeah, so that's pretty much what we have, and we're gonna send this to the back. We're gonna send this to the back. We're gonna send this one to the back. We're gonna send this one to the back. Okay, hold on. This one is going to the back. This one is going to the back. So now these ones are here in front. We can now, take our time to resize. So this is why we need to resize a little bit. And together with these values, we can then bring them down and put them right in the middle. Okay, and we need to make sure there's space. There's still space for the text, right? So what we're going to do now, this one, we are trying to make sure that they come down a little bit. So we just bring them down, align them down manually. And then we will bring in our text boxes. So we'll just start with the text box. The first text box. So this first one will be the bigger one. So let's see if there's enough space for our text. I think we need to go down a little bit with this one. Okay, we'll go down a little bit, and then we shall also resize this a little bit. So you have much bigger space here for our incident title. Our dashboard title is incident trend analysis dashboard. And we shall increase the font. We shall make it bold. We shall make it gray as well, but it's going to be a darker gray. I'm going to increase the font to, I think, 20, 24. Okay, or maybe 20. Yes, 20 is better. Or 18. I think 18, right? And we put it in the middle. So the color is not bad. We're gonna now remove the fill and then the outline. So that is what we're doing right now. As you can see, we are progressing steadily. So we're gonna, basically create a copy of this. Control C, Control V, and then we would then start to, prepare our chat titles, right? So this one, I think we used Segway UI. Use Segway UI, and the font was probably 12 or something, or maybe 10, right? Let's see. And then we call it incident incident types, right? Okay, so this one we have to definitely reduce the color of the font. So we come to home and then we use this one. So Control C, Control V, we copy this one, paste it here, injury severity. Control C, Control V. This one is incident trend. Control C, Control V, and then we have it here as incidents by department. Incident by location, and then incident by incident cause category. Yes, so we are getting there, as we can see. Let's bring everything up a little bit. And then what we're going to do next is that we're going to bring in those, basically cards titles, the KPI cards titles, right? So that's what we have here as total incident. Control C, Control V, personal injuries. And then controls V, we have percentage human errors. And then this one is going to be percentage investigation completed. Okay, and then we're going to change the colors, but before that we need to make sure they are properly aligned. So we need to align them to the middle. All right, perfect. Okay, and then we change the colors. I could have just done that straight away, right? We align them to the middle and I change the colors to white. Yes, so there we have it. And the next thing we're going to do is we go to insert, we go to icons, and we look for some, some icons, right? So it's going to take taking some time to load. For some reason, it doesn't even give me recently used icons. So I just have to go all the way and keep looking for which ones are nicer. Okay. So let's keep going. Let's try. So we just import it in. So we have at least 6 that we can use, right? So we bring everything here. We change the colors. We change the fill. So it's gonna be like a white fill. Now because the background is white, okay, let's undo. Let's try to move it. Hold on. Let's move it to where we can see. Now it's supposed to be a white fill, okay. And then we want to reduce the size, so we can just reduce everything like this, and then we can take our time and select what we want. So this one will be for injuries. This one could be for injuries as well. This one will be for this. This one is probably what we used, or we could use for injury as well, and we could use this one for this. So once we bring them in, then what we're going to do is that we're going to resize them. Stop. Okay, so we have 1, 2. We could remove these ones, okay? And then stop. Go to mommy. Okay, so I think we are there. Let's remove this. Let's make it bigger. So now we need to just select all of them. Oops. And then increase the size. So in terms of increasing the size, you could just do it manually. Okay, and this one we could make it much bigger because this one it still looks smaller for some reason. Okay, so we have this and we have this somewhere here. This one will be aligned somewhere here. This one will be aligned somewhere here, and we just have to make sure that they align properly. So I'm just gonna select this and this. Okay, this and or let's select all of them. And then just go to align and put in the middle, and then we can use this to, you know, sort of place them properly how it should be to make it look cool. I think this is not bad. All right, and that's pretty much it. Okay, so we've been able to replicate this dashboard. It's a little bit almost the same as what we did, except the fact that this is too bold, right? We need to change it from, you need to sort of make it this one and bolden it manually. All right, then I'll just copy the, you know, basically the paint brush and choose the one that you want to choose. So there we have it. We've been able to create this dashboard. We've highlighted the minimum and maximum values. It is almost similar to what we did, and we've also highlighted, you know, basically the maximum of, sorry, did I say minimum and maximum, right? Let's go with this one. Okay, so there we have it, guys. We've been able to create this chart. We brought in a shape. Where from that shape? Let's go look for it. Maybe I have it on my my computer or something. So let's go to insert picture, right? Picture over from my device. You know, open my desktop. I go to, sorry, my downloads. I think I downloaded something that we used. Okay, that's exactly it. We found it. So this is what we used the last time, right? So we put it right in there. So this is where your logo is gonna be. You can put your logo right in there. Okay, so there we have it. Now we just control all and then just group everything, and then you could go to the size and properties and ensure that it does not move whenever you resize. Okay, so that means that once you move this, the chart does not resize. So there we have it, guys. We've been able to create this amazing dashboard. Now let's look at how responsive it is. You know, you could clean it up a little bit by making sure that there's a lot of space. I mean, there's a lot of space to breathe. Things should not be too clumsy. So there should be a lot of space to breathe, okay? And usually you can do that by simply ensuring that the sizes are all equal throughout, okay? So there we have it, guys. We have this dashboard. It's very responsive, as you can see. You can apply the filter, and you could filter by location. You can apply the filter here. You could filter by, you know, the department as well, and all of that. Now I think that the slicer, we made the header bold. So let's go back and make sure that the font is a bold font. So let's choose the bold one, okay? And then we hit okay. Yes, I think it is bold now. Okay, and incident type, we just renamed it and we called it incident. So just remove the type, okay, and just call it incident. So everything looks clean. All right, so that is it, guys. Thanks for your attention. I believe that you found this video very, very insightful. We've been able to create this dashboard, so congratulations if you're able to follow to the end. I'm going to see you guys in another video. Bye for now. Cheers.